What's going on, everybody? I am Troy from Marks on Media. I've never done an actual book review before, but I've been really getting into audiobooks lately. There are a few I have queued up. There's one that I honestly just started because it became available. I get most of them through the Hoopla app, through my library, and this one is no different. Today, I wanted to talk about A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Guin. The whole reason I even got into this book, just a quick preamble of how I got into listening to this audiobook, because I don't have a lot of time for actual physical reading with my schedule and my hobbies and my personal life. I do have a lot of time for audiobooks, though, and podcasts and stuff, so that's how I consume most of my media. I have been listening to Fairy Tale by Stephen King that didn't come out too long ago, and it's got a lot of modern elements in it, but it's a portal fantasy, and when I'm finished with it, I'm definitely going to do a book review of that as well. It's very good so far, but it's very long. It's like 24 hours of listening. I'm a little past halfway through it, but it had to be returned, and it's on a wait list, and I'm like still second in line to get it. And there was another fantasy book that I found in Walmart. It's a young adult fantasy. I actually just got it, and I'm starting it now. It's called A Study in Drowning. I don't really know much about it, but it seems interesting, and I wanted to try out, see what's big in young adult fiction now. Brandon Sanderson's books are also on hold for me, so I can't get into them. But I have seen Tales of Earthsea, which I did a review for right here on this channel. I've seen Tales of Earthsea from Studio Ghibli, which is an anime film, and I remember looking into it, because at first I didn't know it was a book series, and then I looked into it, and it's apparently nothing like the book series. So far, I can confirm it's nothing like the books, and the author hated it, per usual. I guess the author of Howl's Moving Castle also hated that movie. It's also the first movie that Hayao Miyazaki passed down to his son Goro to direct, and it was not good. Hayao Miyazaki actually walked out of the movie. I think that Ursula K. Le Guin, the author of the book, sat through it all, but she said it was like watching a completely different story with characters that had the same name as her characters, but other than that, it wasn't anything like her books. So she really didn't recognize the story at all, which is really unfortunate. But I decided to dive in. This was only about, I want to say, 10 hours at most of audio for the audiobook. Just gotta say, it was a little bit of a slog at times. I'll get into it a little bit more really quickly before I dive into the actual book, and when I am going to give a spoiler, I'll warn you all and give a timestamp to jump ahead, because I'm going to give kind of a plot summary of the book. But really quickly, if you could, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell to stay up to date every single time I post brand new content. And if you like this kind of content right here, a book review, let me know, and I'll try to do more of them in the future. But either way, let's get into it.
Marks on Media.
So, A Wizard of Earthsea is technically the first book in the Earthsea series done by Ursula K. Le Guin. It was published in 1968, and I just gotta say, it came across like it was published in 1918 or something like that, or 1868. It was really hard to get through at times. It was rough, just the way it was written. And I'm a guy who loves Tolkien. I haven't dug into the Dune books yet. I've heard a little bit of the Dune books, and I know those are written, those are science fiction and not just pure fantasy. But those are written much differently. Tolkien is even written differently. Like, there are a lot of old fantasy, and Isaac Asimov, I'm a big fan of his. While he can get a little wordy at times and really descriptive about things, it doesn't need that much description. This is like almost like a Charles Dickens style writing. Like, it's really old school, and some of the words she uses, some of the phrasing she uses, it's a lot. But the reason I say that it's technically the first is because it really begins a story. There's a short story book before this called The Rules of Names, or The Rule of Names, rather, that isn't really important to get into to understand a Wizard of Earthsea. The next book in the series is A Tomb of Atuan. I'm not sure that I'm going to get into that. It's if I had a hard time getting through this one, I can't imagine that I'm going to really love The Tomb of Atuan, you know? But I'm going to give a little spoiler warning right here. I'm going to go through the plot, and then I'm going to kind of wrap it up at the end as spoiler-free as possible. But if you don't want any spoilers at all, you don't want to know about the plot and the rundown and all that stuff, I totally understand, but I'm going to do kind of a breakdown, going to try to be spoiler-free at the end here. So if you don't want any details like that at all, go ahead and jump to this timestamp right here I'm going to put on the screen, and no harm, no foul. Getting into the actual plot of the book here and kind of breaking it all down, the novel follows Ged, a young boy with magical talent. He begins his journey on the island of Gaunt. After saving his village from raiders using magic, Ged becomes an apprentice to the mage Ogian, who teaches him about balance and responsibility in magic. Impatient with Ogian's methods, Ged chooses to study at a wizard school on Roke, where his pride leads him to summon a dangerous shadow creature in a duel. Though the shadow is driven off by the Archmage, it leaves Ged scarred and marked as a target. After completing his studies, Ged becomes a wizard protecting villagers from dragons, but finds himself continuously pursued by the shadow. In his quest to confront the shadow, Ged faces betrayal, temptation, and loss, including the death of his pet Otak. Guided by his old mentor Ogian, Ged learns that to overcome the shadow, he must face it directly. With the support of his friend Vetch, Ged tracks the shadow to the ends of the earth. In a climactic encounter, he names the shadow with his own name, revealing that it is part of himself. By accepting and uniting with it, Ged achieves healing and wholeness, completing his journey of self-discovery and master of his own darkness. The book frequently switches back and forth, by the way, to calling the main character Ged, which is his real name, and Sparrowhawk, which is his given wizard name. In this book series, wizards, if you call them by their real name, it kind of ties them to where they can't use magic against you. You kind of hold power over them, and it sort of makes them mortal against you, at least, if you know their name. That seems to be a lot of things in this universe, because Ged/Sparrowhawk uses the same technique against a big dragon. He kind of uses it as a power move against the dragon, where he goes to the dragon, he's like, hey, quit attacking us, and the dragon's like, oh, do you want all this stuff that I have? Because he names the dragon and basically makes him powerless. And he's like, you want all this stuff that I have? And Sparrowhawk's like, nah, just leave us alone. And he's like, but we have all these things. Do you want to? And let me guess, you're going to go kill my offspring. And he's like, nah, I don't want any of this. I don't want to kill your offspring. Just leave us the hell alone. Quit attacking us. I'm powerful over you, basically. And the dragon's like, okay, whatever. It's like just one chapter of the book, but it's just really weird. I don't know. There's a lot of that going on. There's just like one storyline throughout the whole book that's, I feel like it's got meat to it. I don't know. It just feels like everything drags on throughout it. Because like I mentioned, in this is, you know, kind of a spoiler, but it's just like the overall plot. I'm not going to go through and spoil it for everybody now. But that shadow that Ged/Sparrowhawk is trying to avoid throughout the whole book, that's it. He's just like, he's kind of, the shadow is there. Sparrowhawk's trying to outrun it. And he doesn't know how to get rid of it totally and truly be free and be safe from this shadow. And that's the whole point of the book, but it's just so slow going, and it's just like going from village to village. He talks to people, he moves on. He talks to people, he moves on. The shadow is there. He meets up with another wizard. They have a chat, and he moves on. There's like the part of the book with the dragon, and then the very end of the book, or like, and then when he summons the shadow creature to begin with, are like the three biggest parts of the whole book that are interesting. There are some characters sprinkled in throughout the book that I'm assuming she was just setting this up for a whole series. But honestly, this book could have been condensed down into like 3 chapters of like a bigger book instead of stretching it out to be like, I think it was 10 chapters in total. It was a 10 chapter book it was smaller, and you didn't really get a lot out of it. Like I said, it was just him trying to outrun a shadow throughout most of the book, and you had a few interesting things and a few characters sprinkled in here and there that overall, I'm assuming this is just a setup book for the rest of the series. I really don't know. Like I said, I don't have much more interest in getting deeper into the Earthsea series. I thought it would be right up my alley at first, but I zoned out a lot during the book as well, just because it's, just the way it's written is really hard to follow, at least for me. It's almost like, when you put the King James Bible on audiobook or something like that in the background, you start to zone out after a while, because you're like, it's wording. But either way, that's just my opinion. Let me know down in the comment section what you think about this book and this series. Do you think it gets any better after A Wizard of Earth series, or A Wizard of Earthsea, or does it just kind of peak with this book and kind of plateau? Does it go downhill? Or do you have a completely different take on this than I do? I'm not insulting the book. It's just not, I don't know, like I said, it came off a little boring to me, and like it should have been more like 3 chapters in a bigger book instead of an entire novel. But either way, let me know down in the comments section. If you could, please share this video around to everyone you know, and please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell to stay up to date every time I post brand new content. I have been Troy for Marks on Media, and we'll see you next time.